Today we have something a little bit different for you. We're having our first interview prep presentation where we have speaker Frederick Allen joining us. I guarantee you will walk away with something that you did not come with. Without further ado, I'm not going to hold you. We're going to welcome Mr. Frederick Allen.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm grateful and happy to be here today with you guys. My name is Frederick Allen. I am a Vice President of Strategic Resources. I work for a healthcare organization called Sava Senior Care. We have Bryan Centers, and I've covered 13 buildings. Just a little bit about me. I've worked in several different environments. I've done transportation, I've done call centers, I've done retail, I've done customer service, a whole variety of things. So today what I want to do is make sure that we speak on several different environments because of whoever's looking and listening to this can gain something from it. So you will see me talk about different environments, different jobs, different skill sets. But that's because, again, for the sake of this presentation today, I just want to make sure we catch a broad audience. At any point in time, if you have any questions, just let me know. We'll go ahead and move forward with it, and I'll answer whatever I can. At the end, we'll have a Q&A, but please raise your hand, and then we'll keep things moving. All right? So some of the things we want to talk about today. The why. Now, everybody says, I want a job. Is it just because of the money? Do you have a career plan? Or am I just here for the day because I need something to do, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that and why that's important to answer. Research, your resume, knowing your value. How many times we've been in jobs and they say, man, I should be making X, Y, Z. But what are you basing it on? Because you heard your friend made $1 more than you do, right? But has she been there 2 years and you just started? You know, things to think about. Who's interviewing who? Interview etiquette, and then the actual interview. We're going to drill down into that as well. And then closing the deal, having proper follow-up, and then we'll do a recap at the end. Fair enough? So we talked about my current role, my overall experience, and today's goal is to empower you. So when you go on your next interview, that you feel confident, you feel prepared, and you're going to own it, right? And then I'm going to show you how to ask for the job that you want, okay? And there's several different ways to do that. But this is a journey that we're going to take. It's not waking up one morning, looking at an ad in the newspaper, and then showing up for an interview and then saying, well, did I get the job, right? It's a little bit more to that. So the more serious you take the process, the better you make your chances for closing the deal and getting the job. If you follow this process, I would tell you that 70% of the time your success would be spot on. Depending on your skill set and what type of job you're looking for, it could be reduced because some of the same people that you're competing with are following the same process. So then it comes down to the individual, okay? So those are some of the goals that we have for today. So the why. Begin with the end in mind. When I take this job, where do I plan on ending up, right? Is it going to better my current situation? A lot of times we take jobs, and I was just talking with you a little bit earlier, and you're talking about doing justice, right? What was that position again?
Justice studies.
Justice studies, right? And then there's pre-law attached to that, all right? But then we started talking about factory work and things that she's doing, okay? That's okay, because we have to ask ourselves, am I here because I need money to pay my bills? But where am I going to end up on the long run? So my suggestion would be to try to get into an office setting, even if you're doing administrative receptionist work in a law office. Because the end goal is to be in pre-law, be an attorney, and go down that pathway. So every step that I make from today moving forward needs to be guiding me down that pathway. So begin with the end in mind. Here's where I want to end up. The step that I take today, how is it going to help me get there, right? But you have to know where you are at that point in your life. Why am I looking for a job? And I said, man, that's crazy, because I need money. That's one reason, right? But how many people have you seen take a job and the next day they quit? Were they really worried about a job? And in today's economy and society, and because of COVID, there's a for hire sign on every corner, at every restaurant, every skill facility, every call center, every transportation, and people are not going to work. So why are you looking for a job? Now keep in mind that this is a journey. And so what we're trying to do today is try to figure out how I can better my situation and beat out my competition, right? Mm-hmm. So just answering that one question is going to separate you from that group of people, right? Because once you follow this process, the questions that you come up with is going to say, hey, this person is serious about this job. That make sense?
Yes.
All right. Where will this job lead me? Is it on my pathway? Or am I doing it just for the dollars? Quick history lesson with me. When I finished school, I was in communications, and I did an internship in Wilmington. Then I moved to the Raleigh-Durham area. My communication degree with public broadcasting was what I was looking to do. You know, Sports Center wasn't out back then. I'm aging myself, but CNN was, right? And so I wanted to be that next CNN person, so I needed to start from the bottom up. When I came to Raleigh-Durham, they wanted to pay me $6 an hour. Shock treatment, right? Guess why? Because I did an internship. Guess how much you got paid for internship? Zero. How many schools in the Raleigh-Durham market? A lot. Okay? So there was no real value to them to hire me because they can get somebody for free. But if I wanted the job, here we go. I went to retail, making $7.50 an hour because I had to pay bills. Am I doing public communication today? No. But am I communicating? Yes. So I do a lot of public speaking things. So it's a career path that got changed. In that process, I knew one day I grew up across the street, or not grew up, I spent time at my grandmother's house on the summertime and doing at the Coca-Cola plant was right across the street. So every day we sat on the porch eating cucumbers, watching the trucks come in. And so I got diesel fuel in my mind and in my brain. I wanted to drive something big, right? So I knew that was part of my goal. So I had an opportunity to go work at Chapel Hill Transit because I wanted to get my CDL license. That's my retirement plan. So right now, I have my retirement body for bus drivers. You see the bus drivers, there's a reason for that, right? And then now I'm working on the age aspect of it, right? So we're going to work up to that. But I wanted to get that in hand because I knew that was something I wanted to do at some point in my life. So now I have 20 years experience behind the wheel, okay? I did that job for 3 years. Then I said, okay, Fred, it's time to get ready for your professional life. Then I started in sales. So I'm still doing sales today. That painting the picture, right? Begin with the end in mind. How would it better my current situation? Financially, positioning for my next step, my next career opportunity, and who do I want to be when I finish this process? What skill set am I obtaining for the next opportunity that comes? Why this job? Because your friend said this was a great place to work. That's a good starting point, but it shouldn't be the answer to everything, right? There's been plenty of times in a call center, in an office setting, people take jobs and then 2 days later they're trying to find another job. Because we didn't ask, why this job? Give you an example. We talk about a receptionist. What's the number one thing that a receptionist is expected to do?
Answer the phone.
Answer the phones. Why is it 3 days later into the job I'm tired of answering the phone? Right?
Yeah.
CNAs working on the floor, helping clean patients. 3 days later, I'm tired of doing this job. You just applied for it. You went through a whole process to get the job. But why? Why this job? Ask yourself that question. This is your life, your career. Don't waste time unnecessarily. If it's something that you don't want to do, position yourself for the opportunity that you want. Now, that doesn't mean don't apply for that job because that pays my bills. But have a plan in place on what I'm going to do next, right? While I'm paying my bills. Why this company? How many of you have really sat down and listened to your friends talk and they say, oh, I can't stand my job. And then you go apply for the position there anyway, right? Now, true, you shouldn't listen to what everybody says. The two people I don't listen to is they and everybody. When they told me, and everybody said, those are two people I don't listen to because they don't really know too much, right? Right. But do your research yourself. Understand what that company does provide. What I will tell you is that if you have a best friend, if you have a sister or brother, they probably only know 75% about you and you 75% about them. There's always going to be a certain percentage that you don't know. Guess where that falls in? The fact that they didn't show up to work every day, right? They were always late. And you talk to your girlfriend at 9 o'clock on Tuesday, say, girl, why are you calling me? I thought you was at work. Girl, I was tired. I'm tired of that job. Guess what I'm doing? I'm going to apply for that job, and I know she ain't going to be that long. Right? Again, pay attention. Listen to the things around you, but don't listen to what everybody has to say. All right? So then we want to start talking about the research. I asked you why this company. Have you went online with the internet today? You know, we live in the space of Facebook. We live in Instagram. We live Google. I mean, man, you can't have a conversation today without somebody mentioning, I'll Google it, I'll Google it. Well, guess what? I would never do any more housework that requires me putting anything together without Googling it first. All right? I just put a grill up, and it took me 30 minutes, and then when I actually Googled it, it took me 10. 30 minutes, I still ain't get it right. All right? So, do your research. Learn about the company. What is their history? Do they do a lot of laying off? Why would you put yourself in a company situation when they're doing a bunch of layoffs and you're trying to better yourself? Right? That's good information to have, right? So we want to know who we're talking to, and we want to know why. We also want to know, is this the right place for me? See, interviews are twofold. It's not just them looking at you. You should be interviewing them as well. Okay? How stable is the company financially? We talked about that. If they're going to go through bankruptcy or they're going through a buyout, pause, right? Because you don't know what the culture is going to be like when the change takes place. Again, if that's the only thing that's on the market and you don't have any other options, then take the job. But if you got other options, this may be my third choice, not my first choice. Okay?
I have a question with that
Yes.
part. So is that with every company, that's just considered public information as far as if a company is going bankrupt and questions like that, is that always?
Not always public, but there's enough research that you can go back and look at the history of that company when you just Google that company. Okay. And on their website, they would tell you, you know, their strength and their financials from a high level, okay? It's not going to tell you, unless they went through a bankruptcy, that they're going through a bankruptcy. Think about internet search. When you Google the company's name, everything that's associated with it comes up, okay? You have star ratings, right? And then you have ratings where their employees have said X, Y, Z about the company. Now, keep in mind, when you're looking at star ratings there's two people that are always going to do a Google review. Anybody want to take a stab at who those two people are?
A person that's happy and a person that's upset.
Oh my God, thank you, man. You hit the nail right on the head. I wowed the hell out of you. I did a great job. Usually because something happened, and I did a great job of pulling us out of that situation. right? Or we just totally did not get it right.
Yeah.
There's your 10%, right? So when you look at that 90 percentile is the people that are content, happy, satisfied with what they're doing, and those are the ones that you very rarely hear from, okay? So good question, but there's enough information for you to look at, to do research on, to get a better understanding of what that company does present, right? How many years they've been in business, right? It would tell you that, you know, from a financial standpoint, they have gained market share because they're selling themselves, right? Here's what we do, and this is what we do well. So there's enough information for you to read the starting point. The things that you don't know, guess what we do with those questions?
Don't ask.
They would ask them anyway.
You write it down and ask in the interview, right? So when you go through the website and it's something that you're looking for you can't find, it's part of your interview question. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second here. What is their mission statement? Every company has one. They tell you about their culture, what their focus is. And then my challenge to you is to try to figure out, are they actually meeting their own expectations? Because they're talking about the culture, but does it really exist? We're going to talk about behavior interviewing in a little bit. And what behavior interview is not saying, hey, can you lift up a fork to eat your meal? Tell me how you go about doing that. Okay? So again, when I'm in an interview with the company, I may want to ask, tell me about your culture and give me an example of how you have applied that to your day-to-day. All right? And again, what is the culture like? Not from what your friend said that's sitting at home in the bed on Tuesday when she's supposed to be at work. You call her Wednesday, it's like, man, I might go back Friday. But we know that's not happening, right? All right, so what is the culture really like? Do your research. Talk to people that you know or get several different responses. Again, and what you're not certain of, write it down and ask at the interview. Okay? Yes?
Excuse me, what exactly do you mean when you say the culture?
So the culture, great question. What is the environment like? Right? What are the standards set by the company to make sure they have positive employee experiences, right? That whatever product they're selling is a value add, right? Do they have the benefits that's going to meet my family needs, right? 401k, health insurance, you know, FSA accounts. All of those things are important. What are they providing you so that you can live your life comfortably? It makes sense? All right? Is it a friendly environment? When you guys came in today, make sure I shook your hand, make sure you felt welcome, you know, and to make sure that you got a good picture of okay, he sees okay, right? Then we had to take Mr. off the table, right? I don't want to be Mr. Allen, Frederick, right? But again, what is the culture like? Is this somewhere I want to be? Do I really want to work here? And you see people sitting on the floor and they're having negative conversations all the time, right? Because you put a pot of us in the same room together and then those things start to happen, right? Do you want to be a part of that culture? There's the company standard, and then that's what really happens on the day-to-day.
How would, you know, the reviews that you see, is that something that can also be included? You don't think that's not considered, you shouldn't go off that information? You know, the data that you have, like, people come on and you'll see, like, oh, this company, they suck, such and such.
All right, once again, who are the people responding?
The good people.
They're wild away, or I got fired.
Yep.
Okay? You just have to take that in consideration. Because I promise you, every time I've seen somebody in the company that I work for walk out the door, I'm going to get them back, right? That's that payback method. That's what the internet has done for us, right? So, great assault. Read it. Again, I go to the interview. Hey, I looked at your website. You did your homework. I saw these reviews. Can you talk to me a little bit why that might have been said about you? Right? Good information to have. But if this person called out 5 times in 2 weeks, do I really care what they have to say? Right? And I'm going to take an opportunity away from myself because I'm not that person. And this, they're not going to tell you in the interview what that person did. That's an HR no-no. Right? But they can talk about their culture and what they're offering and what their standards are and what their attendance policy is and can you meet those criteria yourself?
It'll tell you a lot about the company too, like who you're going to be working for. But if they do respond to, you asking that question, they start explaining what happens and stuff. It'll tell you a lot about the people.
Right. And again, they're never going to call names. They can give you situations all day long. But it's going to, the negativity is coming from 2 different places, right? And you have to be smart enough to say, hey, that's not me, okay? And again, we're only going to know a certain amount about what people do. So that's where the question piece comes into place. Can they afford me? Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. We all, show me the money. Show me the money. But you got to know your value. We're going to talk about that here. Perceived value and true value. We can put a price tag on our head all day long. I gave the example of somebody making more money than you. And you being frustrated about it. What's a job offer? Kind of speaks for itself, right? It's a job offer. Don't you have to accept it in order to move forward? So why do you accept the money that's been offered and then complain because you found out that somebody else got more? Did you ask for it? My job as a manager is to get you for fair market value, right? But not blow my budget, okay? It's an offer. You should always counter offer unless it's a starting position with a flat rate. Here's where we start all of our candidates at. Then you know there's no buffer in there. You still can ask because you know what? That might be good for that person, but I come in with 10 years experience. That should mean something to you. I don't care what industry you're in, right? And say, so for this value and what I'm getting ready to bring to the table, let's have the conversation. Ask for it, okay? You might not get it, right? Because if they're consistent with what they're doing across the board on these positions, then it is what it is. But always ask, okay? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, always ask. But perceived value and true value. Your value is not based on what your cousin made at the same job. Okay? If she's been there for 2 years and you have 0 experience, then why do you expect to make the same money? Think about those things as well. So let's talk about resumes. First of all, do you have one? Y'all have resumes?
Yes.
Okay, good. Be surprised how many times people show up to work or show up to an interview and they don't have a resume. Even if you fill out something online, you take something with you to the interview, right? Because a lot of times, well, you know what, I didn't get your resume, I don't have. Here's a copy. It shows you being professional and you're serious about this opportunity. Okay?
And I want to say, and that is based on any level position.
Any level.
Whether executive down to fast food, you should bring a resume.
All right, so great question for this instance right here. The people that I hire usually make anywhere between $60,000 and $90,000. I just hired 4 people over the past couple of weeks. 2 of them came to interview without paperwork. The perception is, I've already sent it to you. I've talked to your recruiter, so you should already have it. Well, guess what? What if I didn't? What are we talking about? Okay? We're talking about the right thing to do, to separate you from everybody else. Okay? And when I say the 70% chance of success exists, it's because you're doing things through this process that others may not be doing, which is going to separate you from the competitor. So think about it. If all things are equal, and you got a group of managers sitting down and saying, hey, gosh, man, I really like this person, and this person did this, and it could come down to that one thing, how you presented yourself in the interview process. Everything else is equal, but you know what? I've seen a situation where somebody did a business plan for an interview. The other person went in, talked about everything they've done, had more experience, but this person did a business plan. Guess who got the job? The one with the business plan. Okay? So only you're looking for a competitive edge, a competitive advantage. So again, these things are what's going to help separate you. Does it mean if I don't go in there with my resume, I'm not going to get the job? I'm not saying that. But you want to position yourself for success. So why wouldn't you do that? Why would you allow that one small step to take away your opportunity because somebody else did it? At the end of the day, I want to make sure we're at least going to be on the same page, or I'm going to be better, not less than. Okay? Is it less than 2 pages? So understand what resumes do. You can go into an environment where you have multiple jobs and multiple skill sets. Now, we as managers have had to accept the millennial mindset today because it's short term, it's short lived, and it's a struggle. It is a struggle. My mother and father, my dad worked at the same place for 30 years. When I finished school, I was on a 2 to 5 year plan. Today's millennials, we get 6 months out of them. You're lucky, right? Because the next one, I don't care what level, college degree, nurses, doctors, man, 6 months, I need to be making X, Y, Z of dollars. It's that quick. So we as managers had to be more accepting of that. But at the same token, what can I do to keep that person here longer? If they have the right skill set, if they're the type of person we want on our team, and they do that good of a job. Now in 6 months, how much experience have you really had? Right? Knowing your value. And the one thing with educated millennials is their value is way up here with very little experience. So a lot of them are looking to get that quick dollar, right? Because everything in our world with the millennials is quick, fast, and in a hurry, right? That's why you got Google, you have internet, it's boom, boom, boom. Everything's fast-paced, right? I'm going to go here. If you talk to a millennial about their life plan and their life goal, it is, I'll be here for 6 months, I'll be there for a year. It's nothing long-term. There's exceptions to every rule, but the majority, that's how they think, okay? I said that because I don't want to be stepping on nobody's toes. Yes.
So when you say 2 pages of your resume, would you suggest that we include references from the employer, the previous employer, or whatever?
Yes, but what I would do with that, you have a name and a number at the bottom of your resume, and that has, here's my references, okay? And when you talk about references, everything and everybody's a reference, okay? Right now, what I'm doing, I'm looking for references. Joe, when you go out and say that you came to this seminar, and they say, how was it? I want you to say good things, right? Not because you're part of the organization, because you had a positive experience, okay? I don't care who I'm talking to, I don't care what environment it is. It's kept me level set, but I'm always looking for a reference, because the world is smaller than what we think. And 7 degrees of separation, right? That means 7 people down the ladder probably know somebody you know. And you don't even realize it, okay? So in that space, I'm always looking for references. But then please make sure you don't put references that won't say good things about you. If your boss just fired you for your performance, please don't, right? Guess how many times I call and check references? Very seldom. You know why? Because I know the people that you put on paper are going to say good things about you, or should. That's the whole reason for it. Now, if I can get hold to your old boss or somebody that you worked for previously, then that's more valuable to me, right? I'm not talking to your friends about you. I don't care if they work at the plant with you. What are they going to say? Positive things. Am I getting what I need? No. I can tell you with me, because of my mindset, that every one of my bosses that I've had over the last 20 years, I'm still in contact with. Thank God for texting, right? We send each other texts periodically. Hey, how you doing? You know, just because we care, right? I had some good managers. Keyword search is very, very important when you go online to do an application. Okay? If you're looking for business to business sales, that's what you do. You want to make sure that word is captured on your resume, because the way the computer works, it's going to look for those keywords and then pull your resume accordingly. That's part of the screening process. Okay? Marketing, leadership, call center, cherry picker, forklift. If the resume, if the search is looking for those keywords, make sure it shows up on your resume, okay? Even when you're filling out the application and they're asking you to fill in those spots, make sure you capture those words. Now, look at the job description and you will find the keywords they're looking for. I'm looking for a forklift driver, keyword. I'm looking for a call center representative, keyword. It'll tell you, it's not cheating, okay? It will tell you exactly what they're looking for. Look at the job description, make sure those words match up into your resume. Now, when you're doing a blanket resume, because you haven't done the research, you haven't chosen a company, you're just looking for a job, you want to make sure that the job that you're looking for encompasses your skill set. Bless you.
Sorry.
All right. So 6 months ago, we've been running out the door. All right. Does this part make sense? Because this is very, very important, right? When you go online and you say, well, they never responded back to me, nobody ever called, go back and check, because this is probably one of the contributing factors, okay? How many years have captured? Now, you're a younger bunch in here, so we ain't got a lot of years to talk about, right? But 7 years is only what people really want to see, right? But that doesn't mean you ignore. So in my resume, I've been with 2 companies over a 12-year period. But I still need to show that I had a good work history. The only difference is I would put the company name, my title, and the dates that I work, because we want to show a consistent trend that I don't job hop and I am somebody that can be depended on, okay? But the details of what I've done needs to be in that 7-year window, okay? So that's what you've done today and what people are most interested in. Now, I gave all these different titles about what I've done, right? So if I'm going, my resume today does not speak to my transportation because that's not the job that I'm looking for. But when I go into my retirement plan, guess what I'm going to go pull out? So I will highlight the transportation piece that I've experienced, that I've had, but I also would capture the things that I've done in my current role in that one-line bullet to just show, hey, yes, I've been working, I'm dependable, I'm reliable, I've been a leader, I've done all these great, wonderful things, but today I'm focused on getting a transportation job. Yes, sir.
So how far back into your work history do you need to go as far as putting the jobs on your resume?
Well, I get your question. So you want to know overall how far
Right.
back. You want to go back to day one. I always go back to day one because it's really just one-liners, right?
Okay.
And just say, hey, here's what my work experience has been, okay? So because now I'm able to see how long you stayed on a job. Right? 8 years, 12 years, 6 years, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. I just saw a resume the other day that a young lady had 5 jobs in 2 years. And the fact that you was moving around during COVID, when people was trying to hold, so I was hoping that I got laid off because, no, that's not what happened. Well, what really happened, whoa. I usually don't move on those, right? Because I'm looking for somebody that's willing to make a commitment long term. So you want to paint, again, you're separating yourself from the competition, right? And a lot of people don't put things on their resume because what? You're trying to hide something, right? All right. So if it's not there, I already know you're trying to hide something. Yes.
So I heard you mention that, like say for instance, you have multiple titles. And so when you're applying for that job, you might highlight the things for that position. So do you think how do you feel about having multiple resumes? Like say for instance, if you're going to like,
Yes.
so it is good to have
You
have
can
multiple
because
resumes.
your resume, technically speaking, should speak to the company that you're applying for. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, there's also a format that goes to everything that I've done at the top that speaks to call center, transportation manager, HR manager, sales manager. So now when somebody looks, all those keywords that we just talked about are sitting at the top of my resume because of those are things that I've done. Then we go down to where I am currently. You do a brief summation of what you're looking for, right? I'm looking to work with a company that does X, Y, Z, right? That's your little catchphrase to say, hey, this is what I'm looking for, and here are the things that I've done. Here's my degrees. Here's my extra skill sets, training that I've applied. You know, if I was call center, I've done call center management training, right? And then I have my references. Everything else you need to be able to talk to. Your resume says, hey, look at me. I have the skill set that you're looking for, and I want to come talk to you. I am interested in this position. Okay? That's the first opportunity for someone to look at you seriously. Okay? Someone asked about cover letters. Cover letters are good, depending on what environment you're in. Okay? In any job that I would apply, I don't like cover letters. I don't read cover letters as a manager. But if I went for a job at the level that I am, will I do one? Yes. Okay? It all depends on where you are, what you're looking for, and what that company standard is. Again, if you're trying to better yourself and beat out your competition, why wouldn't you do it? Gaps in employment, be prepared to talk about. If you're hiding something because you didn't put it on paper, it's going to be asked once you get in the interviews.
Right.
Right? Be honest. You don't have to tell everything about yourself. Right? But make it make sense. And if you screwed up 20 years ago, man, I was in a bad place at that time, but this is what I've done since then. Right? And here's what my work performance has been. Now, if it was last year, right? You got to sell yourself, but you know what you've done. You know who you are. I got to figure it out. I wish I had time because I would tell you about a situation where somebody came to me from my hometown in Durham. I grew up in Wilmington. He came up from Wilmington to Durham and was interviewing with me and didn't have a clue of who I was. By the time we finished talking, he done told me that he was best friends with my first cousin. And I'm going to leave the story there because we live. there were some things that were brought up that he originally didn't talk about, but because he was associated with my family member and I knew what his activity was, I redirected my questions. Okay? You got to be careful about that. Yes.
So like on my resume, I do contract work. been at the same job for 20 years, but I've been with 5 companies. So how would I introduce the fact that I'm a contractor? So it won't look crazy, got 5 companies.
Real easy. We working for the same organization at the pillar, EPA, right? And under the EPA, I have bullet point this contractor, bullet point this contractor. But I've been with EPA for 7, 8, 10 years, right? It's just how you format it to make sure that you're telling your story. Know your value. Am I the right candidate? What are you basing that on? Because I want the job? Or have I put the work in? Have I taken that journey and one step in front of the other, I have positioned myself, receptionist, going into the law firm, sitting down and understanding that environment, what that culture looks like. Man, you might spend 10 years on something to realize, gosh, I don't really like this. It's a lot of wasted time. It's you interviewing them as well as them interviewing you. It is you looking at the opportunity to see if this is really what I want to do. And every step that I take is going to lead me down that pathway, right? Until I decide to stop. Do you have the right skill set for the position? Or do I have the transferable skills to do the job? And can you speak to it? Do you understand what transferable skills mean? Okay. So a transferable skill, let's use an example. If I'm going for a call center position, but I've been a receptionist. I never worked in a call center, but I've provided customer service, right? So now I can talk about my customer service component as a receptionist, which might make me a good candidate for a call center. That ties it together? Mm-hmm. Right? So, but you got to be able to speak to that because it's not glowing on your resume. But you was an excellent administrative assistant in your previous job. This call center is paying more money, has a better opportunity for career advancement. So now I'm really interested in getting into that space. And I heard this was a great company to work for, and the culture is great, and I love it. Does the job create work-life balance? Do they work overtime, 7 days, working 7 days a week? For how long? I mean, there's car industries right now that are trying to catch up with all of the manufacturing and parts and all that things. And I know people that are working 7 days a week. Manufacturers are saying, hey, if you work the weekend, I'm going to pay you $300 extra a day on top of your overtime that you're already getting. That work-life balance?
No.
Huh? No. At some point, money doesn't fix everything, does it?
Right.
I tell you, when customer service go down is when the overtime is up. Because now I have to deal with the attitudes. I'm tired of being here. I don't want to do this anymore. Right? And the next time you pick up the telephone, it's like, yes, thank you for calling. What can I do for you today? You've heard it, right? So that's something you want to know. What does that world look like? Goes back to the culture. Now, if you're greedy and you need money, man, sign me up. I worked a job at Domino's and I went to work at 11 o'clock and got off at 2 o'clock every morning. And at 5 o'clock, people reported to work and got off at 9. First week, I was like, listen to my cousins, right? And I'm, hold up, let's put money in my pocket. So I'm like, no, y'all go home, I got this. I did negotiate something. I never had to clean up the restaurant. Right? I said, I'll stay long as you want me to, long as I don't have to clean. Oh, good, cool. When it rained at Domino's, when it was 30 minutes or less, I didn't call in to go to work. I showed up. And every time I showed up on my day off, oh, Frederick, thank you. Hand me a pizza. Can I clock in first? Take it up. Go with it, right? Again, it's your situation. Be prepared. Who's interviewing who? Who's interviewing who? You've heard me say it over and over again. It's not just them looking at you. You should be looking at them. I went through an interview process, and the lady said, all right, well, thank you, Frederick, and I appreciate you coming. We had a great time. And I said, whoa, I have some questions. Sit back down. Then I started rolling out the questions. That's where the job offer came from. Because I separated myself. Because I did my research, did my homework. I knew things about the company that were important to me, and I wanted to make sure I was a good fit for them as well. Okay? Always keep, I don't care what level you are, always be interviewing the place that you're going to work. That's where you're going to spend 40 hours of your week. And you want to make sure you have a positive experience. I ain't gonna try to come back, Kathy. All right. So again, am I the right candidate? Do I have the skill set for the position? If not, do I have transferable skills? And can you speak on it? Does the job create work-life balance? Who's interviewing? Interview etiquette. Man, this is something that you really want to pay close attention to, right? Dress for the job you want, not for the job that you have or had. You're trying to separate yourself. This happens a lot. Me and my cousin are going to apply for this job together. And y'all have, girl, what you wearing? Right? Now, if I really want the job, I'm gonna say, hey, what you wearing? I might throw that. I'm wearing some jeans and a t-shirt. I'm showing up in a suit. Right? I'm separating. I'm just joking about it. Right? I went to Champ Sporting Goods in a suit and tie. You look at it, I wish I could have caught that on camera. That was priceless. What? You did what?
That must be a manager position.
No, it was retail. Guess what?
You got
I got the job.
In the suit.
In my suit. Why wouldn't you do that? You're trying to separate yourself. That's competition. Pick me, pick me, pick me. Why wouldn't you do that? There's a difference between club wear and church wear and work wear. Know the difference, right? So you say, well, this is where it gets really nice, because Kathy hinted on this a little bit earlier, and I want to tell my story. I'm going to take the time to do it right now, because it doesn't matter what place in life you are or where you're at, what type of job you're looking for, this rules apply. So I did locum tenens, which locum tenens is position placement for other physicians going on vacation, being short-staffed, all that stuff. So I had a physician that I had set up for an interview at Emory Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia, one of the top hospitals in the nation. Right? Did all my prep work with that physician. We're good, you got all your information, got your credentials, you have answered your questions, got your travel arrangements set up, everything's in place, we're good to go? Yes. 5 minutes, interview's at 1 o'clock, 5 minutes to 1, I get a phone call from Emory and their medical director. I have this lady sitting in my lobby with a sweatshirt and jeans. What in the world's going on? a physician interviewing at a hospital. And that's the call I got. This is a true story. Okay? So now I had to be the salesperson. Mr. Jones, I apologize. I don't know what happened. Maybe she had a situation, but her skill set is right where you need it to be. And if you can just do me one favor, can you talk with her? And then we'll have a discussion after. He called me back. He said, Frederick, you know, man, she sounds like she's really good, but I can't move forward. So now I'm kicking myself. I'm like, man, what did I miss? My boss said, oh, well, you could not have predicted that. I went back and looked at her paperwork, because they review everything on physicians. I mean, I can go and get everything I need, right? Guess what I saw? Back on page 45. Professional dress in the environment. If I'd have dug a little deeper, but just to your question, it was a physician. Do I have to talk to a physician about dress code?
Right.
The answer is yes. Okay? Missed opportunity for her. Okay? Are you groomed properly? You know, we have these cultural things, and I just want to be me. But make being you still be professional. Make sure your hair is tight, your beard is shaved and carved out properly so that you look professional. Put on a suit or a tie or a dress or dress pants. If you don't invest in anything else, invest in one of those scenarios that I just gave to make sure that when you go on an interview that you're dressed appropriately. What you would find is that you're walking out and you're getting tapped on the shoulder while your cousin is still going to the car because they're in the jeans and sweatshirt because you just separated yourself. You want to be a good friend. You say, girl, put a suit on. But because they're not here today, if they don't look at the video or have had this type of training, girl, I ain't putting on no suit to go to Champs. And you know what my response is? Thank you. Right? Eye contact. What does eye contact mean? You're paying attention. Right? You're paying attention. The easiest way to lose the job. I'm going to give you a good indicator how good you're doing on the interview. If your interview lasts less than 15 minutes, don't even call back. Okay? Something went wrong. I'd be facetious about not calling back because there's still things that you can do to work yourself back, right? But probably not a good sign. Depending on the job set. Most of my interviews last an hour, 2 hours, right? Because when we got to their 30-minute or 45-minute mark, I started asking questions, then it got extended, okay? Firm handshakes. Important, very important. There you go. Come in, good morning, thank you. Eye contact, okay? That shy and bashfulness. I'm scared. I hope I get this right. I really want this job. If you follow this process, you're going to be confident because you're prepared. And that handshake, I ain't forgot about you. Much better than when you came in this morning. Right? This morning it was, sit up straight. These are little things that mean a lot. Now, if you want to stay home and you're really not serious about it, take your cell phone with you. I guarantee that. What is the thing, when you go to work, I don't care if you're working on a line, where's your cell phone supposed to be?
Not on
Not a problem.
right? Supposed to be in your locker,
In your locker, right? That's
right? Well, we got people that want to keep it in their back pocket. Why? You there to work. Is it that important? Is that person on the side of that phone paying your bills? If he was, you probably wouldn't be at work, would you?
Okay.
Right? Now, if you're in a professional setting, I use my work phone for multiple reasons. I use it to take notes, right? But I'll introduce that to that person that I'm interviewing with. I probably would have my questions on my cell phone, and I say, do you mind if I pull my cell phone out and ask, I have a list of questions I want to go through with you. Do you mind if I take notes throughout the interview, right? Because if they're talking and I'm sitting here like this, what does that look like? Right? But if I introduce this tool, I do sales meetings, I have to introduce this tool. I may have my iPad. I introduce the tool and let them know exactly what I'm doing with it. No, I'm not texting. I'm taking notes. Okay? So again, depending on where you are, what you're doing, but if you're going in to do line work, if you're going in to do a call center job, I can promise you the first thing they're going to be looking at is your cell phone, because that's what they have to deal with every single day. The cell phone's sitting here, and you taking a call, and you guys watch TV with your cell phones? Of course you do, right? How many times did you miss a part in the movie because you looked down at yourself, right? It's like, oh, I'm paying attention. I was just doing training this week with a director of nursing. Oh, Frederick, I multitask all the time, and blah, blah, blah. And then she looked at her cell phone, and then right behind it, she said, what did you just say? You know, I started laughing, right? Wow, I couldn't have made this up, right? Oh, you multitask, but you're not very well, right? You can't focus that hard and heavy on something that's that important to you. If it's that important, you act like it. Listening. I'll do a quick exercise again, because if you listen, the questions that you didn't think of may take you to a place that you want to go. Joe, tell me about your favorite time at the beach.
My favorite time?
Yeah. Don't overthink it, just
I just went to the beach and had fun.
why did you go to the beach?
I was with the fellas, we just went out.
Hanging out with the fellas.
Yeah, hanging with the fellas.
And that was what was important to you that day?
That day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing grand happened,
Nah, just at the beach, chill.
and nothing that you wanted to share with us on camera. So why did you all decide to go to the beach?
I went down to visit my sister at the time. She was living down there, so.
So it was a good family visit,
Yeah.
grab the group together, right? And was your sister appreciative of that?
She was there. Yeah.
Asked you to come back?
Eventually.
All right, too much information. The attempt here is just really to listen, and as he's answering, I'm asking questions based on what he said, okay? Same thing when you're interviewing. As you're asking about the company, tell me about your culture. Why is this particular position open? What happened to that person, right? And I was promoted up, and the people that were my peers at the time were, good luck. You only be here for another year. My response was, yeah, if I plan to do what they did, you're right. But I'm not. I'm gonna figure out what they did wrong, and I'm gonna do something different. I lasted 8 years. Okay? That's why you can't listen to everybody. All right? They and everybody don't. It's a bad combination. Bad combination. All right, so practice your active listening, because you don't know where it may lead you. You want to be prepared and write things down so that you can listen. You don't want to be sitting there looking and listening, thinking about the next question, and while that person's talking, they sound like womp, 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 right? And you missed it. Opportunity to connect, and you missed it because you're thinking about your next question. Write it down. That way you can listen. Take notes. Take notes. Under etiquette, money. I didn't put it up there, but right on your cash sign, right there in that section, because we all want to know how much money we want to make.
Right.
Is it okay to talk about money? Yes. People are time sensitive today. There used to be a etiquette around business where we had the first interview, we had the second interview, and then, we come back in and then we talk about money. Right? Man, I don't have time today. And I want to lock this person in, because if I'm hiring nurses and there's a nursing shortage, I don't want this person walking out my door without getting them committed to me. Right? But you got to know your value. You got to know what your true value is and what your worth is. And you ask for what you want based on your true value, not perceived value. Fair market value. And if you don't know what that is, you need to figure it out. Do some research. Go to salary.com. You can go out there and put in your position, and then it'll tell you based on your years of experience, you know what that job normally pays.
What was that website again?
Salary.com.
What was that phrase you just said?
Which phrase? I talk so much.
Know your true value, not your
Perceived value. Girl, I know I'm good.
That's true.
Right? There's always the why that comes behind it, right? Why did you say that, right? And it needs to have some value behind it. We all think we're great at what we do, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same token, you gotta know, does what you do apply to what you're doing, where you wanna go, and can I ask for the money because I have the value behind it to support it? The interview. Be prepared. Have your notes. All this is going to take your anxiety level from here to here. That soft handshake of, hey, how you doing? I'm glad to be here today. Yeah. What you got? Now you're going to be confident because you've done your homework. You researched the company. You know what questions you want to ask. You know what you like. You know what you don't like. You know what you want to make. You know how long you want to be there. These are all the things that we've already talked about, right? Now, when you dress in your Sunday best, what type of attitude do you have? Boy, we go up here quick, don't we? We're walking on our toes. It's important to dress so that you feel empowered, right? If you're just having a casual day and you're walking with a casual attitude, then guess what your performance is going to be? Very casual. You need to smack yourself across the face with a suit, a tie, a nice dress, a business suit, dress pants. Just slap your face and wake yourself up and say, hey, I'm going somewhere different today, right? And I'm going to act different today because now I need to be a professional. I want this job, and here's the reason why. If you don't know why you want the job, how are you going to speak to it? How are you going to close? When you weren't sure yourself. And if it's just about the money, that's fine. But know that and make sure they can give you the value that you're looking for. Be prepared. Be confident. It's okay to talk about you. I don't know how many times I've heard people talk about, oh, he sound like he arrogant, or he know it. This is the one time you need to be arrogant. They're interviewing you. You need to be comfortable talking about you. Facts, not perception. facts. Not what you're going to do, what you've done, what you did, and while you were good at it, while you was doing it. Yes.
So when they ask you at the interview, tell us a little bit about yourself, how in depth do you go with that? Like, is that more of you start off with some personal and then go professional? How, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, do you go with, I'm originally from Wilmington, and how detailed do you get with? Tell me.
Did you ask them that question?
What? Where are you from?
No.
No. You said.
The question you just asked me. That's what you do.
Yeah.
You ask them that question. Don't overthink this, right? If somebody asks, tell me, what specifically are you wanting to know? If it's that broad. One of the questions that I ask is, how did we get here today? Talk me through your last 5 years of employment. That's one starting question that I have. But if you're unclear, ask. You're interviewing them as well. Don't overthink this. Good listening. And if you're not sure, ask for clarification. It shows you're doing what? Paying attention. I do an exercise. I tell people through this impact training, I say, go home, and the whole day I'm talking about don't overthink it, ask the right question, and that right question will lead you, because as you're listening, it's going to take you down a pathway. Okay? So I say go home and talk to your spouse or your kids, and I want you to impact them through this process, but they can't know what you're doing. And 100% of the time, they go home and start thinking about, okay, how am I going to phrase this? And I said, just tell me something that you don't know about your husband that you've been with for 20 years. That's what happened this week. Oh my God. How am I going to do that? Don't overthink it. But I want you to drill down until you get the answer. Like we did with the beach trip, right? I want you to drill down until we get the answer that we're looking for. I've had one person out of probably 30 people that I've done this over the last 10 years that actually went home and said, Boo, can you tell me something I don't know about you? Everybody else, well, how was your day? Was it good today? Well, tell me about it. Now, how you going to go from that to finding out what you don't know about it? Because now I got to do some serious homework. Don't overthink. This is very simple. Ask for what you want to know. At 2 o'clock in the morning, you got an interview tomorrow morning, and I wake up, oh my God, I wonder if, write it down and go ask that question. Don't add anything to it. Don't subtract anything. That's what you really want to know, right? That's what a real work is done. Go ask the question. Talk about you, your accomplishments, what you've done that was exceptional. You always want to highlight that. Brag on yourself appropriately. Been in the job for 5 years. Hadn't called out any in a 5-year span. If I'm a factory worker, that important? Yeah. Had no safety violations. Call center, my average handle time was, I was a top performer. Always met my quota. Took more calls with very few errors. Those are the things that are important, right? Talk and brag about yourself, your accomplishments. You're separating yourself from the competition, all right? Take notes. Do you mind if I take notes today? You do mind? Right? Depending on the job, if you're going working in the factory and you ask to take notes, you pretty much got the job. Because I can assure you that it's probably 90% of the people that go in that room just looking for a job. Right? The other thing that happens through this process, people may start looking at you differently and say, man, you know what? You may be a good team lead coming in the door because of how you presented yourself. You know what? I got something else I want to talk with you about because you came in differently. You didn't even know that was sitting on the table because they haven't even posted it yet. But they looked at your skill set, looked at your professionalism, and said, hey, you know what? I want to talk to you about something else. You never know. Ask questions. Always have a list of questions. Okay? But if you've done all that homework and all that research, you've inquired through others that worked at the company that you're trying to get on board with, you're going to find something that you want to ask. Write it down. If it's nothing more than, what are the benefits? Right? Do I have insurance? How soon can I get them? Because I got 3 little kids at home I got to be worried about. Right? How much of that is coming out of my paycheck? What is the company's contribution to that? How much PTO time do I get? How is it accrued? Right? You want to know that, don't you? Yeah. What's the salary range for this job? It's important to know, right? And to get top dollar, what are the requirements? Right? Well, I'm looking for somebody with 8 years experience and had done this particular piece and worked on this particular machine. That's been in the call center in the lead role for X amount of time. And again, based on the years of experience, if they got 10 years experience, I'm willing to pay more. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Talk about eye contact. I'm paying attention. I'm taking notes. I'm not wasting their time. Right? So now we've done all of that prep work. We went through the interview process, and we've had the conversations. We've asked all the right questions. Now we want to start working on closing the deal. I want to say, when I walk out of here, I have a high level of confidence this job is mine. So I'm going to give you some tools to make that happen. So the first thing you want to do is recap the conversation. Mr. Jones, we've talked about, the company history, and I understand you guys are financially stable. You're one of the top performers in the industry, and things are looking good, right? I also learned today that you've had some issues with people and turnover, right? People not showing up to work. And that is one of your main concerns, right? You also want to make sure I got the right skill set for the job, to make sure that I can do it, and I think my resume speaks to that piece, so we're good there. Is there anything else that I'm missing that you want to hear from me, right? So now I think we're good. I think we got that covered. All right. So now you start doing your closing, right? I think I'm a good fit for the job because I have perfect attendance for over 5 years at my last job. My safety, top notch, haven't had any errors and any deficiencies in that place. Also, I'm a good team player, and I've been promoted or given raises for my overall performance 3 out of the last 5 years. Based on the culture that I see today, I think I'm gonna fit right in because of those attributes, right? And based on everything I know today and everything that we've talked about, I really want to work with this company, right? Notice I didn't say I want this job. I want to work for this company, right? I feel like I can build my career based on beginning with the end in mind. I've done all the homework. This is where I need to be. This is going to put you right in line with my next step and where I want to go in life. And so this seems to be a good fit. At that point, that was your pre-close. Now we have the pre-close. Close because this is where we can easily say, thank you, I appreciate your time, and have a good day. I want you to take one more step. And one more step is to validate where you stand. I don't want to leave anything on the table. Based on everything that you've heard today, is there anything that you've heard today that would prevent me from moving forward in this job? And shut up and listen, right? Because most of you never heard that statement before. And that's just one of many that you could use. But that interviewer is probably going to be wild too, like, whoa, nobody's ever asked me that before. Did you not just separate yourself? Right? They said, well, man, that sounds a little salesy. In a sales position, I better ask that question, because I promise you that every salesperson has gone through the same sales training that I've gone through, or some form of it. So it needs to be on the table, right? But I'm also going to say, you know what? When can I start? Man, that's bold, ain't it? Right? So if I ask this question, and it's a number of times you've answered all of my questions, I can tell by the energy too. I'm paying attention. You know, they say, oh no, Mr. Allen, we're good. When can I start? Well, we'll get back in touch with you. But did I not just tell them I wanted the job?
Right.
That I'm serious about this? And I'm committed to working for that company, not taking that job? Does this make sense? Mm-hmm. Again, your 30-second speech, based on everything that you've learned. This is why I'm here. This is a great opportunity. I want to be here with this company. And we're not talking about begging and all that stuff, right? Because sometimes I think it misconstrued. But hey, I am a good for this. I look forward to talking with you soon. Look forward to us working together in the near future. Right? Putting those positive language, that positive language of affirmation that I want this job and I feel good that I'm going to get this job. Okay? So are we done? We had the interview, we closed the deal, we had the right conversation. No, we're not. Follow up. Prior to you leaving the interview, set a date and time for follow-up. How many times we've gone home and we waited for the phone to ring, or we waited for the email? Oh, I got that job. Oh, should I call? Or should I wait? Should I wait another day? We've done it, right? Just say, when would be a good time for me to follow up with you? Is Friday 10 o'clock a good time? If you put it out there, make sure you meet it. 10 o'clock, put it on my calendar, I'm calling. Ms. Jones just wanted to follow up on the interview process, see where I stand, and see where you are in the process.
I have a question.
Yes.
So how long do you recommend that you should follow up with a job interview?
Great question. Go back to what I'm not going to make that decision. They're going to tell me. Okay? Again, don't overthink this, right? Because when we walk out, then we start doubting ourselves. And every day the phone don't ring, guess what? I can't be ready to get that job. Self-doubt starts to creep in. This is going to free your mind from that by asking the question. And if you got some supervisor and say, well, we'll contact you. I tell you what, I'll give you a call in 2 or 3 days, and then we'll follow up from there. Okay? Another way to figure out where you're at in the interview process, while you're walking out the interview, you can't get a straight answer, right? And you say, well, we hope to be finished by Friday. So I tell you what, I'll reach out to you Monday if I hadn't heard from you. These little things are separating you from the competition. Because in the back of that person's mind, as they're talking to other people, like, wow, I liked her approach to that. Now, guess what I'm looking for everybody else that's coming through the door? Mm-hmm. And every person that comes through, they don't do it. I'm like, you know what? They've already put your application to the side because you're the shining star right now. And they're looking for somebody to top that. Why would you bring your best to the game? right? But I wanted to make sure you understood and bullet pointed, right? Don't write a book. I tell you, after about half a page, if I look at it, and so my manager told me this before, and I was like, oh man, I don't get it. Man, we're strapped for time, right? So you want to hit quick bullet points, do your quick paraphrase of saying thank you, appreciate the time, still interested in the position. Here are some bullet point things that I may have missed, right? If you're having a phone conversation, you know, hey, just wanted to share this with you as well. We didn't get an opportunity to talk about that the other day, right? I also had a couple of questions that I negated, that I thought about after I left the interview. Ask the questions. It's also an indicator that they're still interested in you, right? Because they've taken the time. Isn't that what the phone call was about? Mm-hmm. Right? So it's okay. Right? What did I miss? What didn't I say? Did I leave an impression? Or should I say, did I leave a positive impression? And we talked about redirecting things because there were certain things that I could have said that I feel like would have been important. That's what that follow-up is about, okay? Send a thank you note. And if you send an email, make sure your grammar is correct, right? Have somebody proofread it for you, right? And this is another opportunity, and you don't want to lose the opportunity because you missed this step. If you're not comfortable sending an email, call them, right? And do not text about a job. Please don't.
So, a lot of jobs. So if we go to an interview and we actually get a text back from the manager or whatnot, should we consider that acceptable?
Yes, if they reach out to you, yes. Yes. Now, some companies have texting that shows will give you an update. You know, that can come out as well. But if they're texting you directly, yeah. I'm saying, no, you text and say, hey, where we at with this job? Okay? The fact that you have their number might be beneficial if they gave it to you, right? But again, you can ask the question, do you mind if I text you? Right? And if they say, well, here's my contact information, and if you have any other questions, please call me and let me know, right? And if, you know what, I'm really mindful of your time. Do you mind if I text you that question and we can respond that way? Versus sending a blind text. All right, because we get too comfortable with that. And how many times has what you communicated to your friends, your significant others, your mother, your father, got misconstrued?
Through text.
Right? Through text. So why would we continue to do that? We want to stay in the safe zone, right? I don't want to have any mishaps. Lord knows I don't want to send a text that was intended for somebody else to this person. All right? So again, we're just talking about best practices here, okay? So, in conclusion to all of this, this is a journey, not a quick pit stop. There's a lot of work that goes. Looking for a job is like having a job, right? When you're looking for the right career and not just a job. The questions and things that we've talked about today is really around preparation, building your confidence. When you walk into the interview, if you've done the homework, it's going to come across in your communication. You're going to feel empowered through the interview process because you know where you want it to go, right? And it's not just you being interviewed, you've also been empowered to interview them to say, is this the right environment for me as well? It's reciprocal, right? It's the two parties looking at this together and coming to a mutual agreement and say, you know what, I think you're a good fit, I think I like you, let's work together. Having the right resume in hand is important because that's the starting of the process, right? And if you don't grab those key words, then your resume may get lost in the shuffle. So make sure you go look at the job descriptions and make sure you pull out those keywords. Interview, review, research the company that you're going to work for. Get some history, know what their financials are, best you can. Know what their commitment is to their employees. So we have this thing called respect with the company that I currently work for, and it all speaks to respecting each and every day, okay? And every time somebody does an act of kindness, then we give a respect card to that person saying thank you, okay? So they talk about it on their website. When they talk about employee engagement, they talk about it in the interview process, and then we can give active examples of how we're doing that on a day-to-day. So are we living and breathing the culture? Yes. All right? So those are the examples of things that you want to look for. Be prepared, ask questions, be sharp, put on your Sunday best. Know the difference between club wear and church wear. Or what church wear should be. I should put that out there. We talked about the physician, right? Educated person went to a job interview and missed the little things that cost her an opportunity and had all the credentials. Right? You don't want to lose opportunity. I want to be better than my competitor. I want to present myself differently than my competition. I want to stand out, okay? Just some quotes that I put together for us today. Don't wait for the right opportunity, create it. This is, we talked about going in and presenting yourself well, and then somebody taps you on the shoulder and say, hey, you know what? Because of what you did today, I want to look at you for a different role, different position. Did you create that based on how you presented yourself? Yes. It happens every day. Don't limit yourself, right? The only limitation is you, because we won't take the next step. If you want to be like everybody else, then act like everybody else, and you'll get everybody else's results, right? But if you start thinking differently, doing things differently, then you'll get different results, right? Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Now, here's the difference between looking for a career job based on a company that you really want to work for. If they tell you no, you're not just going to walk away. You're going to try to figure out what you need to do differently to get that job, because it's what you really want. I was having flashbacks because when I worked for Manpower, the corporate building was right up the street from here. And I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm going back to work. So when I decided I wanted to do staffing and work for a staffing company, I went to a couple of different places, did some interview prep, had a positive experience with this one company, which happened to be Manpower. And I said, you know what? I love their presentation, their professionalism, and I want to work there. So the first thing I needed to do was get some experience. So I went and worked for a mom and pop organization, okay? Privately owned locally, and started getting experience, right? Then I started positioning myself. What sealed the deal was that I actually took a contract from Manpower. So my name went in the lights. And I called the guy that ended up hiring me and said, hey, just want to give you a heads up. I just was awarded this contract and you'll be getting a 30-day notice. What? So he went to scrambling, right? But I'd already closed the deal. I already asked for permission to reach out, because now I need to start gathering information about the employees that they have, who's going to transition over. And so it was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Right? Then through that job, there was a buyout that took place. And then I got laid off. But I already knew where I wanted to go. Took me 5 months to get there. I didn't look at any other staffing company. From the day I got laid off to the day I got there, I kept working it. I had 5 interviews. I want this job. I want to work with you guys. And finally my day came. In that 5 months, I lost 20 pounds. I worked out every day. But I was focused, diligent. I did other things. That's when I got to go drive my charter buses, right? Floating around. And again, until they told me no, I was going to keep beating that horse. But hold on, Frederick, we're still working through this. They had some leadership changes. One person didn't really think I was a good person for the job. But then guess what, man? He's taking business from us. We need this guy on our team, right? Begin with the end in mind. Know where you want to end up. Do your research. If you don't get it right the first time, it's okay to follow up. What did I miss? What could I have done differently? It's okay, because you're trying to better yourself, right? And if they tell you, then go fill in the gaps. Because that's where I really want to be. A man without a plan is a man that plans to fail. If you haven't done your homework, how do you think you're going to be successful? We do it every day, don't we? Begin with the end in mind. True failure only happens when you stop trying. Success is a journey. You've heard me say that over and over again, not a destination. All of this takes work. All right? So I want to thank you guys for your time today. I hope this was valuable information for you to have. Kathy has my contact information. If at any point in time you want to reach out and say, hey, Frederick, can you help me with this because you were present today? I don't mind giving you my information. Those that are online, talk to Kathy. All right, but it's been a great experience for me as well, so I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
That's beautiful. First, a round of applause for that awesome presentation. Thank you so much, Frederick. Look, I want to make sure I got my handshake down, Pat, that you were talking about that nice. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. I want to touch on a couple of things that he spoke on. The resume. P.A.T.H will be offering a resume building program as well, so be on the lookout for that. We also, he spoke on interview etiquette. We also preparing an interview prep closet, and those are for individuals who do have a scheduled interview and may not have the right attire. P.A.T.H will be offering individuals the opportunity to come out and be able to pick through that attire. And also with that, I mentioned before, we are teamed up with Andre's Barbershop right here in Raleigh, North Carolina. For those, we only have men for the barbershop right now. I have not set in on beauticians, but if you do have a scheduled interview, you're able to go to Andre's Barbershop right here in Raleigh and get a free haircut as long as it's coming through P.A.T.H. So I just want to thank everyone for coming. I really appreciate it. I was taking my notes. I see all of you taking your notes, and that means that you are leaving with something that you didn't come with, and I promise you that. So I'm very appreciative of that. That was an awesome presentation from Frederick. For those who could not come today, we are recording, so this will be a link that will be on our webpage, and you'll be able to come and view the class. That webpage is positiveattitudesthinkingHigher.org, and be on the lookout for that. We'll send out more information when that link becomes available. And on today, it seems like the most important thing that we can walk away with having a successful interview is the 5 P's. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. So until next time, I am Kathy, and thank you for joining us on Let's Talk, Let's Listen.
Positive attitudes, thinking higher. You can do anything you desire. Positive attitudes, thinking higher. You can do anything you desire. Wanna change my life, need a new start. Focus on my goals, following my heart. Never dwelling on negativity. Being positive is what I claim for me. Better attitude, brighter future. Know where I'm going, finally know my worth. Always working hard, strive to be the best. That's the path you take when you want success. Positive attitudes, thinking higher. You can do anything you desire. Positive attitudes, thinking higher. You can do anything you desire.